Hi guys and welcome back. For today's video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I am primarily a makeup channel. I mean, if you look at all my videos, they're basically all makeup videos, what? But I wanted to talk about the movie 5 Feet Apart. I watched it yesterday and I wanted to give a CFer's point of view. I know this movie has been out for I think 3 to 4 months now. I just got around to seeing it, so I'm sure some of you have seen other CFers. If you're a CFer clicking on this video, I'm sure you maybe have seen other CFers' opinions about this video. I just wanted to give mine, but also keep with my channel videos and just kind of do a get ready with me while talking about the movie, because I have some errands to run, so I didn't want to look like this going out in public like a little effing troll. So I figured I should put some makeup on and talk about this movie. So if you are interested in my opinion, then keep on watching. First off, I just want to say I am so tired. 2 reasons. One reason is because I cried a lot during that film. That gives you any type of an idea of this movie when it comes to a CFer's point of view or my point of view. It lets you know that it's pretty damn relatable. I woke up this morning and my eyes were swollen. So it just touched on a lot of things throughout the movie where I'm like, wow, brought a lot back. And then number 2, I decided to mow the grass this morning. And it was already like 80, 85 degrees. Like, what am I doing? I think maybe I'll just kind of pop up a product here and there or whatever while I'm getting ready. If I don't, everything will be listed down below as usual. So let me shut up and get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is kind of what I just said, is that it was very relatable. I do want to say that, you know, through the past couple of months, I've seen other CF videos where they have talked about the film as well. I'm just strictly talking about me, my opinion, my experiences, where I grew up with my hospital and the protocols that they do and what I've grown up with. So what I talk about does not mean it's the right protocols or the wrong protocols. It's just strictly what I've grown up with and what I've personally been through. So I just want to first and foremost say that because I don't want anybody coming at me like, that's the right way, that what you're doing is the wrong way. I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. I've said that with my other CF videos. People just, or hospitals, doctors, places just have different ways of going about things, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way or wrong way. So I do just want to put that out there. This is just from me, my experiences, what I've dealt with, what I've grown up learning, what my doctor, I've had the same doctor since I was 13 years old. So this is just my own experiences where I personally have grown up in these hospitals. So putting that up there. Within the first 5 minutes of watching this movie, I was in tears. Because, and by the way, if you have not seen this movie, there will be spoilers. So do not watch this. Watch the movie, then come back to this. And if you don't come back to this after you watch the movie, I know where you live. I'll hunt you down. I know how it feels when, like, your friends come, or let's just say your boyfriend or someone comes to the hospital to see you and everything's cool, you're excited for them, whatever they're doing, and then it's like almost the second that they close that door, it's this sense of like sadness and feeling left out and like, why me? Like, I totally get looking out the window, like when Stella looked out the window, and there's just this whole sense of just sadness because she's missing out on going out with her friends or going on vacation with her friends, and there's nothing she can do about it. Like, I've totally been there. So that scene within like the first 5 minutes of the movie just like brought back so many emotions that I had felt throughout my life being in the hospitals. And I don't know, I just found it incredibly relatable. It really got me. One thing I also found that was really funny, because I get where I work, I get sometimes for the way I am, almost like an obsessive compulsive person. Like I almost sometimes feel like that. Not to that extreme, I'm kind of being funny, but I gotta have things like a certain, wow, I look really pale. It's fine. That's what bronzer is for. But I'm very, very particular in the way that I gotta have things in order. I gotta have things clean. I'm a very structured person, and that's how Stella was. So it was just kind of funny. I watch her having to have things in a particular order with all her medications and doing her treatments on time, and that is so me. It was just so funny I'm not going to use this concealer. What am I doing? It was just so me to a T. I was just kind of like tickled watching that, like, oh my god, I do that. What was weird though is all of my life, like in the movie, the med carts, like they did their med carts, and it was allowed to be kept in the room. Now me, where I go to the hospitals, both the children's hospital and then the adult hospital, once I transferred, we didn't have, like, the med carts were locked. So anytime your medication was due, like your pills or anything, even every time you ate, they would give you the medications. Whereas in the movie, they were able to do all that themselves, which I found so cool. Like if that is allowed anywhere, like, that's awesome. I think that's really cool, because it's just kind of a pain in the ass. Like, sometimes nurses come in and give you your medication and they tell you what you're taking like every day. And it's like, bitch, I take this every day. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this. You don't have to tell me everything I'm taking and when I'm supposed to take it. And how, like, we know, like it said in the movie, we're like doctors by the time we're 12, just from everything we go through. It's kind of true. I know it's like being an extreme comment to make, but it's just like, I totally understand that. But I think that's so neat, and that's kind of how I wish it was, because it just kind of gets like, I know what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of annoying, but it's just something I've grown up having to deal with, so it's nothing new to me. But I just thought that was really neat, that if that's the case somewhere else, like, y'all are lucky. I actually had a friend named Josh. Back when I was at Children's Hospital, we were about the same age as the two characters in the movie. There was never like a love thing between like me and a CFer. That's one thing. I'm like, that's all Hollywood. And I think that they've said that. It's still Hollywood. They weren't trying to romanticize CF. And I think a lot of CFers, not a lot, some CFers videos that I had saw, they're trying to romanticize CF and blah, blah, blah. No, they really weren't. Even the director himself came out and said, this is still Hollywood. We still had to have some kind of story, something to go with when it came to characters and show the actual thing that two CFers cannot be together, or they'll both basically kill each other off, which is, I mean, it's kind of true. It is true. It's true. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, that never happened to me. I get that CFers, we have things in common that nobody else will understand. And that's so true. But, and it's happened. There have been stories out there with CFers getting together, and that's exactly what has happened. That is a true, not that the movie's a true story, but that kind of same situation has happened, made the news. That's happened. So they're not far off from something that's actually really happens. And that was the thing a lot of CFers were like upset about. And I'm like, it's still a movie. It's still Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's not like they're trying to say CFers need to fall in love with each other. I don't think that's what it was. But then again, I think a lot of people anymore these days get offended by the littlest, dumbest stuff. I don't. I try to look at the bigger picture here, and the fact that some CFers, they hated the movie and they thought it was bullshit and how dare they do that. But then on the other foot, you're upset that there, you know, you want a movie to come out to educate people about cystic fibrosis, and they do, and then you're pissed off about it. I just don't understand it. It's a little frustrating when I was reading articles about that stuff, and I'm like, what do you want? So, you know what I mean? I don't know. That did not offend me at all, because it has happened. It probably happens more than some of us would like to admit, but it happens and it's true. And they were trying to get the point across that two CFers cannot be together, even be that close together without catching different bugs. They were trying to get that across. And I actually think they did a damn good job about it. But I went completely off track. But I did have a friend named Josh. He was so rebellious. Completely just a funnier version of Will in the movie. He cracked everybody up. He was so funny. Had a great spirit about him. Very entertaining. But he was rebellious. And I was that one that always kept with my regimen and doing my treatments, and that's just how I was raised. That's how my parents raised me. My treatments were, it was like a strict thing in my life. So that's why my time management and the way that I do things is so structured and so routine. And then if I get out of my routine, it totally screws with me. So it was, again, very relatable, but that's kind of how I felt when I watched the movie. Again, like I said, it wasn't like a love interest or anything like that. But back in the day, CFers, we hung out together. I would go in other CFers' rooms. When you went in the hospital, it was almost like a slumber party. Like, you go meet your friends, you're like almost at a camp. You know what I mean? It was not as strict as it is now, because they obviously figured out and found things out and why other CFers were catching the bugs and getting sick and everything. There used to be CF camps where CFers would all go to this camp because we can all relate to each other, but then they found out everybody was catching everybody's stuff. Now, as far as I know, there are no more CF camps. As far as I know, because it's so dangerous. I don't think there's been CF camps in a long time. But it's just crazy to think about that. It's not always been the 6-foot rule, which is just insane to think about now. I remember when the mask rule went into effect. Totally remember this like it was yesterday. And all of us CFers in the hospital were like, what do you mean we have to wear a mask? Like, I'm not wearing a mask. You know, everybody stares at you. Everybody judges you. I'm not wearing a mask. So I remember in the beginning when all this went into effect, I was a teenager. And by the way, I'll be 34 in August. So I was a teenager when the mask thing started. And I was very bad about wearing my mask. I just thought it was stupid and unnecessary. But obviously now I realize why. And then, you know, you couldn't go in other CF rooms. And then it got to a point we weren't allowed to go in like the teen room. Now the teen room had like pool tables, jukebox, like games. It was awesome because it was kind of like your little escape from like the normal stuff. They had this big like video game, like 4-section. It was huge, where you could play like different video games. The one I always played was Mario Kart. And then when all of the 6-foot rule and all that kind of stuff happened, we weren't even allowed to go in the teen room or the playroom or anything. We had to have designated times to go into these rooms individually. So if you didn't have anybody there that day to come up and see you, and you couldn't even go in the playroom, you're literally stuck in your room. You're confined, you're isolated. Like, we go in isolation. Legit, it's on the door when you walk in, isolation, and they have masks, gloves, and gowns outside of the door. So before you enter, you had to have gown, glove, and mask on. And that's the other thing about the movie I found odd. Again, this has to do with my hospitals and where I live. In the movie, the doctors and nurses were in the room without masks on, and that just like makes me cringe. I'm like, oh my god, you know. I just was like, why are they in their rooms without masks on? Because anytime that we are admitted, that they have to have gowns, gloves, and masks on. Now, I've kind of went not super on somebody, but I'm like, you need to put a mask on. It's for my protection from going in and out of other people's rooms, another CFer passing something along to me. It's for my protection. So a lot of times the night nurses, not all of them, but they think, oh, they're sleeping, I'm in a rush or whatever, I don't feel like putting all this on. Like, I've caught people, because you don't get much sleep when you're in the hospital anyway, caught nurses coming in without putting all that stuff on. It's like, what are you thinking? And I've said like, I have said like, how dare you try and put my health in jeopardy? Like, that's a big no-no. One part of the movie that was so sad, this is, again, spoiler alert, so if you haven't watched it, you're gonna know something, is her really good friend Poe dies. But what I didn't understand, like, even my husband, who I've been with him almost 14 years, so he's very educated when it comes to CF, and he's like, what happened to him? Because one second, like, they're all like off having dinner, like doing, you know, having fun and everything, then the next second he's on the floor dead. And I guess that's where my ignorance comes into play. Did he just, I mean, his lungs give out, his lungs collapse? I don't know. Like, I just, it was kind of confusing. There was just like, he was alive, then he's dead. You know what I mean? So, that was a little confusing. And of course, my thought is, I mean, his lungs just gave out. That was just his time. But I've personally dealt with other CFers' deaths, and it's hard to get close to others who have CF, because it used to scare me when I would have friends that would go through everything that we have to deal with. But just to let you know, my like, I do very well for myself. Thank God. I'm very grateful. My PFT, my lung function, is in like the high 60s, low 70s. I am on a clinical drug trial right now that I can't really talk too much about. Been on it about a year and a half. It's doing amazing, amazing things. So there are other drugs out there that are doing great things, or Combi, Simdeco, I might be pronouncing them wrong. They're doing great things for the CF community. This one is amazing, and I can't wait till it's FDA approved so I can talk about it more. And it was really sad to hear that the drug trial study that Will was in the movie wasn't working. And it's just like, we've been down that road. I've been on several drug trials growing up where they did not work. So, and it's devastating. It's totally devastating, because you just have high hopes and then it just doesn't work. So, losing those who have the same disease, seeing what they go through, it used to really, really scare me. But I think now that I'm older, it's just one of those things, you come to the realization there's nothing you can do to stop the progression of this disease. You almost learn to accept it. And I did like, I don't know if this is just me, but I did like the fact that finally Stella came to the realization, or how do I put this? She became more rebellious, I guess, like from the beginning to like right before she got her lung transplant. Toward the end of the movie, she's just had kind of that attitude, like, I'm just gonna do what I want, like, screw it, let's go. Like, my best friend died, I could be next kind of thing. I think a lot of CFers have been there. I went through a rebellious stage when I was about their age. I was about 16, 17, didn't want to do my treatment, said screw it, I'm gonna die anyway. The average life expectancy at that time was like 25, 30, about 30, I guess. And like, who cares? Why does it matter? No matter what I do, it doesn't work. Like, this disease does what it wants. Like, screw it. I went through that. Trust me. I think we've all been through that, to where it's just like, whatever, no matter what I was doing at that time, no matter how great I would take care of myself, CF's going to do what it wants. Even till today, CF's going to do what it wants. Even though I'm on this clinical drug trial, CF still does what it wants. And I know that this drug is not a cure, which, you know, I got to keep telling myself that. Got to keep taking care of myself. And like, I know that. It's still, like, if I think too much about it, it's still sad. It still bums me out. It makes me upset. But the reality is, I don't worry about things I can't change. I really try not to. So I just try and live life to the full. I thought it was cool the way that they portrayed the relationship between the nurses and doctors, how close you are with them, because it's true. They become family because you're in the hospital so much. So I liked how they portrayed that in the film. I also liked how they showed their scars. And what's funny is I have a lot of the same scars. I don't have a G-tube. I know plenty of CFers that do, but I personally do not have a G-tube. I've never had a G-tube. I do have a chest port, which I've done a video on that. But I thought it was cool that they actually show the scarring, because a lot of CFers have that scarring. So I don't know, that made me kind of smile. I just thought that was such a cool thing that they did when it came to doing the scars. So that was really cool. I just thought, though, in that scene, you know, they both have chest ports, and I don't know if they were necessarily accessed at that time, but they jump in the pool, and that's like, no, you would not jump in a pool with your port access. That would not happen. And when I'm in the hospital, there's never really a long period of time I even go without being accessed. I get my port accessed once a week, like deaccess, then reaccess. If there's a little bit of a break between IV medications, I can be off of or be deaccessed for a little period of time, but there's never like a long extended period of time where I'm actually deaccessed. So I'm like, you would not jump in that pool if you were accessed. So I can't remember if they were supposed to be accessed or not, but that's not true. I also thought it was funny. They're like sneaking around the hospital. Oh my gosh. When I stayed at the children's hospital when I was growing up, I was all over that hospital. And I remember sneaking to the psych ward one time. That was kind of trippy. Like, me and a friend of mine, we went to, and again, this is before like masks. So we were just like doing our thing. And we went in one of them padded rooms. It was so funny. Like, we had a ball. Like I said, it used to be so fun to go into the hospital. You really didn't care prior to all the protocols and all that stuff. So sneaking around the hospital, that was a thing that I used to do all the time. Since all the protocols and everything, though, I would never go around another CFer without a mask. Like, in a lot of parts in that movie, even though they were 6 feet apart or 5 feet apart, they wouldn't have masks on. Oh, hell no. That's not a thing. Like, if a nurse was to see you, again, this is from my hospital where I go to the hospitals. If a nurse was to see you and another CFer, even if you were 5 or 6 feet apart, you're supposed to be 6 feet apart. It's never 5 feet apart. 6 feet apart. And you didn't have masks on, it's like a thing. Like, that would never happen. So that was like making me cringe through the movie, like, girl, somebody put your mask on, you know, like, and then at one point they were holding hands, even though she had a glove on. Like, no, that's the Hollywood part. So that would never ever happen. Like, that would never be okay, is what I mean. I'm sure it happens, but it would never be okay. And I actually grow MRSA and Pseudomonas, which is not good. Say a CFer, another CFer doesn't grow either one of those. It would be bad for them to grow it because it's very hard to treat. Whatever he had, I had actually never heard of that, because my husband was asking me, like, have you ever heard of that? I'm like, actually, no, I've never heard of that. I think what made me so emotional through the movie is just a lot of the things he would say during the movie. It just would make me upset because the lines were not far from the truth. So again, it just kind of like brings back those emotions, you know? So it's just, you know, a lot of that was not far from the truth. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and hop off camera, pop my lashes on, do my brows, come back and give my final thoughts. Okay guys, so that is it for this look. I tried to keep my brows a little more on the natural side. I think I did okay. They're not as thick as I've been doing them lately, but it's not bad. So my final thoughts on the movie is that it's so worth going to see or renting it. I think it's coming out on Redbox. I don't know if it's coming out on Netflix or not. I think we rented it on demand. Pretty sure that's what we did. Pretty sure that's what my husband did. I think it was $5. You get 48 hours to watch the movie. But it was so good. I can't speak for every cystic fibrosis person out there, but I do think they hit a lot of things in that movie that are so true, so on point. They had a cystic fibrosis nurse on set with them, I think basically throughout the whole time they were shooting. They had Claire Wineland, who unfortunately has passed away, but she was a big part of why this movie came about and why it is so on point with everything and all the facts. So they really did their best to try and do as much research as possible. And I think both of the main actors said in even pre-production, they were basically just talking to CFers, doctors, nurses, trying to really get a grasp of what this disease is. I'm pretty sure neither one of them knew what CF was. So the fact that they pretty much stayed true to what we go through, I don't know. I think they did a great job. They also have the Aflo vest in the movie, which I think is pretty cool. I actually use the IPV. I've done a video on it. I'll try and remember to put it right here. If not, it's down below. I do have a vest as well. I just prefer to use the IPV, but when my IPV gives out on me, then I'll at least have a backup to use the vest. I've used the vest plenty of times, so I thought it was pretty cool that they actually put that into the movie as well. The other thing though that I thought was kind of funny is the pudding cup, with putting all the pills in the pudding cup and taking them that way. I've never seen that happen. I mean, it makes sense. I just kind of pop all my pills in my mouth and take a drink, and that's that. But I'm assuming those who have a hard time taking their medication, that was a pretty cool idea. And I'm pretty sure chocolate pudding would be the best way to go about it, because I used to have to break my enzymes, my crayons, into applesauce to get all the little like beads and seeds in the applesauce to take them before I was able to take them whole. Oh, till this day, I cannot eat applesauce because I would literally have to eat applesauce every time I ate something in order to take my enzymes. Even just the thought of enzyme or of applesauce is like, oh no, no ma'am, no thank you. But again, I just think it's totally worth watching the movie, even if you do have cystic fibrosis and it's not exactly the way that your doctors, hospitals, whatever the case may be, even though it might not be exactly to a T what you go through. I think it's still a great movie, and it gives such a great representation of cystic fibrosis, and I'm glad that more people now know what CF is. I just think it's great, and I think that it'll only continue to bring awareness to people who see it now and again, and in the future there may be more movies or shows made of it. Even in what's that movie called? Oh god, what's that movie called? Bates Motel. Bates Motel, they had a CF character, so it's getting out there. I think it's pretty cool, and I hate to hear that certain people look at this movie so negatively when it gives CF a platform. So I mean, it's all that we've wanted. So I don't know how you can just like dog the movie out. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I also wanted to show you guys, I do have a Breathe Easy tattoo right here. It's like such an awkward position. And then I do have Breathe tattooed down my ribs. I think if I do have a Cystic Fibrosis tattoo on my back, which is horrible. I need to get that like redone. But I try and represent for cystic fibrosis, and I'm not afraid to talk about it or let people know that I have it. I love educating people about it. That's one reason I started my YouTube channel. So I kind of wanted to do a 2-in-1 here with doing a makeup tutorial and talk about this movie. It was like the best of both worlds for me, you know? But I think that's the end of this video. I don't really have much else to say. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it, and I will see you guys on my next one. Thanks for watching.